We have to make progress on our lifts in the gym in order to see progress. Hey everybody, I thought I would chat with you guys and gals a little bit about this today. And in this one, I'm kind of covering the other end of the topic, because on the whole topic of progressive overload, I often point out a lot of frustrated advanced lifters, that progress will be extremely slow, but your gains are going to be extremely slow. So you should expect that. You're not going to be able to come in and add reps and weight all the time. It might take you months to do so, in fact. But we have the other end of the equation as well, and this needs to be said to a lot of beginners, because you'll frequently see this, and this is something I observed decades ago. Right? This is why most novice programs program hard progression in, because otherwise a lot of noobs to the gym, they won't try to actually add weight to the bar. Okay, they will come in and do the same weight for months and years even, and make no real effort. Right? They'll make no real effort to progress, and of course they don't change. This is something I observed, like I said, 20, 25 years ago. You would see people who you come in like, okay, they look like they're in okay shape, right? They look like they're in okay shape, but you're like, man, I see you in the gym like 4 times a week. And you start chatting with them, and they're like, oh yeah, I've been working out 15 years. And they're consistently coming in all the time, But when you look at them, you're like, you look like you're not fat or anything. But, you're not looking at them and thinking this is someone who makes any real effort at the gym. Again, not like they were in good shape. Not like they were carrying significant amounts of muscle, but then you would watch what they would do, and, you'd kind of ask them about their program, like, oh yeah, on bench I do my 3 sets of 10 with 135. My squats, I do 3 sets of 10 with 135. It's on their chest day once a week, on their leg day once a week. Well, they looked exactly like you would expect a person who could bench 135 for 10. It's not going to look terrible if they're at a healthy body fat, but that's not someone who you're going to see and say, yeah, this guy, works out. Right? You're not going to think that. Definitely on the leg department, with that sort of squat. So I would point out to people that they do need to remember that if you're not progressing, if you're choosing not to, again, I understand the point of, hey, we can't always progress at the rate we would like. Sometimes it takes us 6 months to make the progress we think we should be making in 2 weeks. But that's not what we're talking about here. I'm talking about the people who literally don't bother to make the effort. And again, I've observed it. If you do 3 sets of 10 with the same weight, and it's not, a challenging weight, you are not going to get any better. Because progressive overload is a part of our stimulus. And even if we make the case that the progressive overload is evidence of muscle growth, evidence of adaptation, not the driver of it, and I think that actually is a fair argument to be made. And it's like with the challenging sets really are, a lot of times people say, well, it isn't about that, it's about how challenging the work is. Are you pushing the muscles? Okay. But if you've been doing the same thing for years, are you pushing the muscles anymore? In other words, that will get easier over time. If you come in and you do 3 sets of 10 with a weight that you're struggling with, it will eventually get lighter. People say, well, I've been doing that for 6 weeks. Yeah, but you're talking 6 weeks. Do it for 3 years. That's what I'm talking about, over a prolonged period of time. So if we're going to even discuss things like the effective rep theory, and I'm not saying that it's exactly ideal, because again, it's an arbitrary number. If you're within 5 reps of failure, you're probably stimulating growth. That's not actually really verifiable. It's a number that just some evidence-based people came up with. But if it were true, what's going to happen? As you gain a little bit of muscle, that weight you were using is going to get further and further away. It might be your 10 rep max right now. In a few months, it's your 11 rep max. Another few months, it's a 12 rep max and a 13. So what happens when that happens and you're getting less and less muscle growth? And eventually it gets to a point where it's your 15 rep max because you've gained enough muscle. Well, at that point, you're probably not making any further progress from it. So if you're coming in and doing 3 sets of 10 with it, what do you think is going to happen? You just don't adapt. You'll stay exactly where you are. You'll stay exactly where you are. At that point, you are now just maintaining. You're maintaining the muscle that you have. And if a person is happy with where they are, by all means, because again, this video is intended for people who are like, well, I need to make progress. Well, are you progressively overloading? Okay. And again, progressive overload means with the same form, the same tempo. I don't mean adding reps because you're cheating. Adding, reps by shortening the range of motion or whatever you're doing. We're talking about if you're doing the same version of the exercise. And you're doing this, like you see me doing a strict curl right here. Are you curling like this? Well, over time, if you're not trying to add reps or trying to add weight while maintaining that same strict form, your biceps are probably not going to get any bigger. Okay? Because in order to get closer, so people say, well, what if you're training to failure? You said almost always stimulates growth. That's true. But what happens when it's not training to failure anymore because it's too easy? That's exactly what I'm describing. And people will do that. Right? They become complacent in what they do, and instead they'll focus on other things like different intensity techniques or whatever, instead of just simply saying, can I progress on this exercise? Can I get more reps? Can I slowly add weight? All right, that is going to be what you need to do in order to maintain a high enough level of intensity to continue to stimulate the muscle growth. Because eventually we get to a point where it becomes easy. People are like, I don't know, it doesn't feel that easy, but it's like it is, because you could have done more. Could have done significantly more. And when we reach that point, guess what? We're not growing anymore. And there's also a case where I remind people, you don't always need to come in and do more work. Sometimes you just need to work harder on the sets that you're doing. People will do that too. They'll leave those things alone and they'll start adding more exercises and more volume and more stuff. And it's like, and there's a place for that. But if you're not even trying to progress on the main movements, then that's kind of a waste of time. Okay? It's kind of a waste of time. You're just trying to add volume instead of intensity. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.